Hello, Abnormal Family. It's Sunday. I want to make a drop to everybody. But first, I want to thank everybody for the live last night with my mom and the respect that you showed her. She really enjoyed giving you all the details and stuff, and the amount of donations and the support for Hunter has been more than we could expect. Thank you so much for that. That little boy will be home soon. I want to remain anonymous due to the nature of the story. See, I was in the Marine Corps. No, I wasn't in any special forces or anything unique, per se. I was just a regular rank and file Marine. I was stationed at 29 Palms Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Training Center, which was MCAGCT for short. I wasn't the only one who has seen or experienced things in the training grounds and surrounding areas. I was told to keep my mouth shut, but I'm going to die soon anyway. So even if they do come for me, it isn't going to make a difference. It was during early April, so the weather wasn't too bad. It wasn't hot during the day and it wasn't cold at night. I always enjoyed doing field ops during the time of the year. I got away from the dumb shit that we had to do all day in the day back in the main side, and I was typically left to my own devices while out in the field. So late one night, me and a buddy of mine are doing fire watch for our section of the rest area. We had our rifles, plate carriers, helmets with our NVGs, night vision goggles, mounted on the front of our rifles with us. We also had 4 mags apiece of live ammo. That night, Artillery Battalion was doing night practice, so you'd hear the echo of guns followed by the sound of shells hitting the ground and exploding. It just sounded like far-off thunder. Me and my friend were talking about just random stuff when I flipped down my NVGs and saw something moving out in the distance. At first I thought it was just the green tint of the goggles messing with my head. But then I saw it again. I tapped my buddy and asked if he was seeing this. He flipped down his NVGs too, and he nodded. Yeah, but what is it? Coyote? He asked. No, too big to be a coyote. Besides, it looks like it's running around on 2 legs. I said back to him. That's when he tapped me and pointed out into the dark. There's more than one, bro. He said I looked to where he was pointing, and that's when I saw 4 or 5 other figures darting around in the dark. These things weren't that big, I'd say maybe 5'5", give or take. They also appeared to be very strong in build with the massive arms and leg structures. They were dark and their skin looked kinda leathery. They had big dark eyes and no nose to speak of. Their mouth was wide and filled with razor-sharp teeth. They walked around hunched over with their arms dangling by their sides. Their arms themselves were massive. They ran at an insane speed, occasionally running on all 4s. They had 4 fingers on each hand, and their claws were long and sharp. It was like they had daggers for their nails. Dude, I think they're getting closer. I nodded. Yeah, I'm going to go get Corporal up. He nodded and raced over to where our corporal was sleeping and shook him awake. Hey man, there's something out there. You need to come take a look. He cursed under his breath, sat up. This better be good. He sat, and then he sat up, he rolled over, and then got out of bed. That's when we heard gunfire. I raced back to my buddy, who was frantically shooting into the dark. I looked and I saw these creatures out in the dark, maybe 400 to 300 yards away. As other Marines had woken up to the sound of my buddy shooting, the OIC, officer in charge, came running up asking what the F was going on. When we pointed to the creature, he froze in place. About this time, we heard tons of gunfire suddenly erupt from another unit, who was conducting training as well. When I looked back, there was things there, and then they were no longer there. Instead, they were running on all 4s directly at us. I raised my rifle and began to fire at them as those with guns and ammo joined in, and others who didn't ran back to get their weapons. I lined up my sights with the closest one and began to fire into it. I saw chunks of its flesh get ripped off whenever I hit it, and it tumbled down without missing a beat. It regained its balance and kept sprinting at us. At one point, I knew our rifles were useless, until I noticed these things are actually dying. That's when I heard the OIC yelling for us to get back in the trucks and get the F out of there and get back to the main side. A lot of us did not want to because we were winning the war. These things were dying just about as fast as a man, but taking a few extra bullets. Me and my friend turned and booked it to 4.7 ton. I flipped on the battery switch and my buddy cranked the truck on. As we began to start moving, I looked out the window in time to see these things reach the camp. A Marine who had not realized what was going on until it was too late was impaled by one of the creature's claws and fell to the ground. I watched as he tried to crawl away, but the thing leaned over. A bit of its upper torso and head completely was removed from this man in a single bite. As we began to turn out of there, I saw a Humvee that had 3 of these things on racing toward it. The guy in the turret tried to flip the 50 cal around and unload into the creatures, but he wasn't fast enough, and one of them ripped him out of the turret and flung him onto the ground with the others. They attacked him and shredded him like a pack of dogs. He didn't have time to move before the thing sank its claws into his chest and began to eat him. I watched as the thing jumped on top of the Humvee, then jumped down into the hood and shattered the bullet-resistant front glass and pulled out the mangled corpse of the driver and run off into the desert with him. The remaining 3 Marines got out and made me run for the truck. I tapped my buddy to let him know, let's get out of here. They never made it. One by one, things picked up off, and they would start picking up the bodies and running off with them. Their screams fading off into the desert. By the time we got back to the main road, back to the main side, and caught up with the rest of the unit, we noticed how active the night sky had become. There were helicopters everywhere with searchlights. We figured someone had called it in. They were trying to find the creatures or the missing Marines. Well, what was left of them anyways. When we were next at the checkpoint, I noticed something off about the guys manning it. They were all black, the black ski mask over their face and their NVGs down. They didn't have any patches, name tapes, nor did they have identification with them. They were armed to the teeth, though. One of their vehicles had a minigun mounted on it. They all carried high-powered rifles with high-tech sights, laser sights, the other attachments on their rifles. When it was our turn, they had to step up to the truck, and we had to tell them what we saw. After we explained everything, the guy in charge looked at my friend and listed off his full name, date of birth, social security number, where his mom and dad were, the name of his dog, everything he knew about this guy he had when he was in middle school. He then looked at me and did the same thing. Once he was done, he looked at both of us. If you mutter a word of what actually happened here tonight, you and your families will disappear for good. Do you understand? We both nodded with our jaws to the floor. The guy had mentioned things that I had never told anyone about. Then they told us, if anyone asked, a group of Marines went off to get something and wound up getting lost. With that, they sent us on back to the main side of the base. I got back about a year after that, but I never went on another field op again. To this day, I'm still relieved that I do not have to do that. I know what I saw, and we also got a phone call after we remained back home. We were told the same thing. Personal things about us and our family, things that nobody else could have ever known, and how fast they could disappear, and how unsafe they were, and how accidents can happen at any time. But now it doesn't matter because I'll be gone for soon. My health is deteriorating and I'm sick and dying, so if they come for me, they would only do me a favor. but people need to know this. They're training these things, I believe, in the camps to fight with their soldiers. And sometimes I think they use them for training for our soldiers. And sometimes I think they're training them to see how fast they can wipe us out. Either way, this is wrong what they're doing. I hope this story saves somebody's life. Thank you for listening, guys. Keep your head on a swivel. Until next time, don't be something's dinner. God bless you. Smash the like button for Hunter, and we'll see you on the next one.